There needs to be some accountability for what's going on with the Pittsburgh Pirates right now. And we're going to talk about that accountability and why it needs to be held.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. My name is Ethan Smith, your host of the Locked On Pirates podcast, bringing you your news, analysis, opinions, and reactions to everything going on in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates every single day, from a lifelong fan to lifelong fans. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100 when you go on PrizePicks right now and use that awesome code and tell them that Ethan Smith of Locked On Pirates sent you, because I also love all of the sponsors of the Locked On Pirates podcast and the Locked On Podcast Network. Yesterday was annoying. We're just going to get right to the point today. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. We're just going to get right to the point. If you listen to my show yesterday, I discussed why this was such a big series for the Pittsburgh Pirates team, why things are very massive when it came to this series against the St. Louis Cardinals, a team that going into yesterday, the Pirates were trailing by 3 games, mirroring their record 43-40, 40-43, and it came out flat. I mean, they just came out as a flat ball club all around. Mitch Keller, albeit he did extend that crazy, at least going 5-inning streak that he has right now, it didn't look good, like in really any facet of the game whatsoever. Now, you can applaud this team for making a comeback. They did make this game 6-4 at one point. They at least made it interesting. They at least made the Cardinals think about it. They at least made the Cardinals, struggle a little bit in this game after trailing 6-0 after a Nolan Gorman grand slam. The only problem with that right now is making a team work or making them uncomfortable and still coming out on the losing side is not going to help this Pirates team whatsoever right now. It's just not. And it's a very frustrating dynamic when you look at this team, because there was a very funny statistic that came out before yesterday's game. I believe it was from Codify, so shout out to those guys. They always have some really fun things going on over there. The Pittsburgh Pirates are second in the National League right now, folks, in quality starts from their starting pitchers. The only team better than them in that category is the Philadelphia Phillies. So one might think, and you look and you go see the Phillies right now, oh yeah, the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the best teams in baseball at 56-29. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Pirates are 10 games back in their division and 4 games under 500, and now 3.5 games out of the final wild card spot. That's unacceptable. Truthfully, it just is. It's just an unacceptable thing that you have such a damn good pitching staff. You really do. Your pitching staff is, again, a top 3 unit in the National League. It's better than the Dodgers pitching staff right now. It's a better staff than Milwaukee. It's a better staff than St. Louis. It's a better staff than San Diego. I could go all the way down the list of almost every single damn team in the National League and say that this is a unit that is better than almost every unit you see. And yesterday, don't get me wrong, a lot of that loss goes on Mitch Keller. He even admitted it after the game, saying that he needed to use his cutter and his two-seam fastball more. He didn't. And that ultimately led to a bad outing for him. Oh, well, it's going to happen. And the offense, for lack of runs, really, I mean, they scored 4 runs, but on 7 hits, 3 of those came from Jack Sawinski, who, if we're going to be honest here, we got news that Joshua Palacios, friend of the podcast, by the way, go check out that show in the archives, was slated to come up. And then we get reports from everybody saying, oh, wait, no, they have different plans. So what it really sounded like is that Jack Sawinski was about to go down to AAA again for Joshua Palacios, and here we are. He hits 3 for 3 and still has an OPS under 600. So let's keep him. Yasmani Grandal. Folks, you probably saw me go on a little bit of a rant about this yesterday. Catcher's interference on Nolan Arenado forces in a run as part of that crazy inning that the Cardinals had. And Yasmani Grandal also 2 times after Sawinski on his 3 hits got on base, grounds into a double play. One of the slower players in baseball, so you know it's going to happen. It could even be a tough double play, and you're still going to make it easy with Yasmani Grandal. And when you compare, be ready for the jump scare, when you compare Yasmani Grandal's statistics to Austin Hedges of last year, one can make the argument that Austin Hedges was a better baseball player last season than Yasmani Grandal was. And yet, he's still getting regular at-bats on a daily basis when Joey Bart and Jason DeLay are healthy. Why? Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? And really, it doesn't. Ke'Bryan Hayes, who's not really offering much offensively right now, has also not had quite the defensive season that I think he wishes he was having either. Hold him accountable for that. You look at Brian Reynolds, who had an 0 for 4 day. O'Neal Cruz, 0 for 3 day. Ke'Bryan Hayes, 0 for 3 day. Grandal, 0 for 3 day. But it's you have to start holding people accountable here. I think that's the thing. Is some people shout it to the rooftops. Do what you want. That they need to call up Matt Gorski, or they need to call up Palacios, or they need to do this, or they need to trade for this guy, or do this and all that. I understand, folks. Trust me. I do. I get it. I understand the frustration. But you have to be realistic about it. Look at the team right now. Don't worry about what could potentially be coming. What guy could potentially get promoted. This is the version of the Pirates that you have on July 3rd, 2024. This is what you got. And Gary said it on Monday. I agreed with him. You, as a general manager and a manager and every other coach on the team, have to get the most out of the players that you have right now. You can't worry about potentially getting Luis Robert or Vladdy or Jazz Chisholm or Garrett Crochet or Mason Miller or Brent Rooker or JJ Bleday or whatever other name you want to throw out there. You can't worry about that right now. It is not something that's going to happen today that is going to suddenly change everything that's going on. You are in a must-win series against the St. Louis Cardinals with the current iteration of players that you have right now. And guess what? It's going to be the same iteration of players that you're going to have when you go into New York or go against New York in the next series, which, mind you, is another must-win series. Then you look at Milwaukee. That's a big series. And I can guarantee you by next week, not a lot's going to change, except maybe one promotion. And even then, Joshua Palacios, folks, is not the answer to all your problems. Matt Gorski is not the answer to all of your problems. Braxton Ashcraft even. Love the kid. Love what he's doing. He's not the answer to all of their problems. And sadly, with just the way that the trade deadline is going to work right now and how the team is or how the league is structured and all the teams that are in it right now, folks, there's not much they can do right now. I understand being impatient. I understand that they're this close. Trust me, I spew that on this podcast all the time, that all they need is a couple of bats to get hot or a couple of bats out of trades, and they could be right in this thing because the pitching staff is going to no doubt keep them in this thing. But you have to hold the guys that are here right now accountable. Ke'Bryan Hayes, I know he's a fan favorite. He's a Gold Glove winner. He's had very good stretches across his career. But hold him accountable. He's not offering anything offensively. Yasmani Grandal, hold him accountable. He sucks. That's just true. He just sucks. I mean, he's a guy that doesn't need to be getting regular at-bats and regular playing time anymore. I know Jack Sawinski had a great evening last night. He's not doing that great. Hold him accountable. O'Neal Cruz, hold him accountable. O'Neal Cruz has these stretches where he looks like one of the best shortstops in baseball, and he also has stretches where he looks terrible. Hold him accountable for that. Connor Joe, who's fallen off a cliff since his very strong start to the year. Hold the guy accountable. It is okay to do that, but also express that accountability in a healthy way. And with the team that you have right now, this is what we're given. These are the cards that they've been dealt by what the general manager built. It's up to these guys to keep them in this. That is the cold, hard truth. It is up to these guys to do it. That is just the flat out truth. And they have a chance to even up a must-win series against the St. Louis Cardinals tonight. And it'll be Jared Jones's first start in over a week. So what expectations should we have for him? And why does he need to be at his best? We're going to discuss that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Pirates is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, because with summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. And yes, we're talking even about your rival cities with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay even in your baseball rival city. I once went to a Minnesota Twins and Tampa Bay Rays game way back in the day, and I was doing it with a newspaper, so they used Booking.com to find the perfect stay for us, and I could even see Target Field right from my hotel room. From hotels that look over stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. So book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today and use code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of MLB, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. And prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I'm going to Bucko Luau Weekend this weekend on Saturday. It's going on the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you want priority last-minute deals, it's saving up to 60% on buying those tickets last minute to go to Bucko Luau Weekend. Make sure you use Game Time. You can even get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and their lowest price guarantee will ensure that Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And folks, welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. Make sure you check out the 24/7 streaming channel of Locked On Sports Today, where you're getting all of the news that you need, be it NBA free agency, NHL free agency, MLB news, NFL news, whatever fits your fancy. You'll find it on the 24/7 streaming channel of Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or Amazon Fire TV. Also, welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And tonight it will be Jared Jones going against this St. Louis Cardinals team for the first time in his career, as he will face off against Miles Mikolas. Jared Jones, folks, pitching for the first time in over a week. It's going to be a minute. I saw him pitch the last time he pitched against Tampa Bay, and we saw some interesting stuff in that game. He ended up pitching a very solid game in that one, despite a very bad first inning against Tampa Bay. But it became pretty clear over the last couple of starts for Jared Jones that plan that the Pirates have to salvage his arm throughout the season is going to be a plan that they have to use. It's a plan that they're going to have to use with Paul Skeens too. These are guys that have never really went further than 120 innings in their careers before. And Jared Jones, you look at his last couple of starts. We'll just look at the last 3, for instance. Has the 7 innings and 2 earned runs against Tampa Bay. Very good start. That's what you expect from Jared Jones. Not all that great in terms of the advanced numbers. You see over the past couple of starts that he's had, the velocity and the spin rates go down a little bit. Just maybe a little bit of fatigue. I wouldn't be all that worried about it. And then you look at Colorado. Bad start there. 6 earned runs. Minnesota, 2 earned runs over 5. So kind of interesting for Jones lately. He's had 15 starts in his last 7. He has a 4.85 ERA. But as I've mentioned about this Cardinals series, probably ad nauseum at this point, this is a must-win series. You have to win this one. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You got to win this one. You got to make sure that you do what you need to do. And they need Jared Jones to be on his best form tonight. Genuinely. You just do. Because Jared Jones, again, a big reason why this team is where they are. This team could be so much worse if this pitching staff was not as good as it is. But for Jared Jones, I think what you really want to see from him tonight is attacking the Cardinals offense with that slider. He loves the slider a lot. We know he likes to use it a lot, and it's a pitch that has worked for him quite a bit this year. Now, with the slider, and what's interesting about it is you go to his advanced numbers for a second for Jared Jones. High whiff rate, high K rate, the barrel rate and the hard hit rate, kind of worrisome, right? But you look at what he's done with this slider so far as I scroll on a StatCast, my single favorite thing in the world. The slider has been a pitch that he's used a lot, 468 times. He's used it quite a bit this year, and that's what you want to see him do. Now, 36% of your usage is with that, and you're only allowing a 183 batting average with it. Meanwhile, with the fastball, his other primary pitch, it's a 221. You would also like that changeup or that curveball to really become more of a plus pitch for Jones, allowing a 303 and a 364 batting average against those. But I think tonight the key is going to be the slider against this Cardinals offense. It's a Cardinals offense that struggled with the slider a lot yesterday, that the slurve that Mitch Keller, or sweeper, whatever he calls it. There's so many damn names for pitches now. But when Keller was throwing the sweeper, he was actually having quite a bit of success, even though, as I mentioned earlier, you would have liked to see him throw a little bit more of the two-seam and the cutter. Leave that alone. That's in the past. For Jared Jones, though, you got to really figure out when to use the slider, when to use the fastball, because I think that you see him rely on the fastball a little too much sometimes, which is fine. It's still a plus pitch for him. It's still a pitch that's very good. I just tonight really want to see him use the slider, and I think you really need him to go 6 or 7 innings. Mitch Keller, you've been able to depend on him to go 6 or 7 for a while and not tax the bullpen. That happened a little bit last night. Luis Ortiz pitched a good bit. Josh Fleming pitched a good bit, so you kind of taxed that bullpen a lot last night. Jared Jones, you'd like to see him at least go 6. Very good 6 innings, too. I know saying him go 6 innings would be like, yeah, he'll go 6 innings. You want to see him go a good 6 innings. And I think it's just going to be bringing back the moxie that he's shown. He's going to be rested, which is good. He hasn't pitched in over a week, which I think is going to benefit him greatly. And that's going to be a big thing. Now, on the flip side, the Pirates will face Miles Mikolas tonight, a player that for some godforsaken reason has given the Pirates hell over the last couple of years. And Miles Mikolas outside of playing the Pirates, he's terrible. He has a 5.32 ERA in 17 starts, 94 and 2/3 innings, 68 strikeouts. But you go back to that last game that he had against the Pirates when he was pitching a no-hitter for a large portion of that game. 7 innings, only allowed 1 hit, no earned runs, and 6 strikeouts. If you're the offense and you really want Jared Jones to settle into this game and have a good outing, you have to, and I mean have to, find a way to attack him early. Get on his stuff early. We saw the offense heat up a little bit last night, but it wasn't until later in the game. You didn't see them finally score until the 5th inning, and that was all the offense they got. I want to see that. I want Jared Jones to settle in early and use that slider as a plus pitch like he knows how, And I want the offense to attack Mikolas early. Again, Mikolas, a guy that the Pirates have historically struggled with, but go back to when they played Hunter Green a few weeks ago, and Hunter Green's a guy they've historically struggled with, and they beat the living daylights out of him. So that's what they need to do tonight. They need to split this series and force a rubber match on Thursday. That is a no ifs, ands, or buts, no excuses, no nothing. And on the final part of today's episode, now that we have Mikolas and Jones and kind of a little preview of tonight's game going, I'm going to let out a little frustration about some of the things that I've been seeing, as well as why I'm just frustrated as a fan outside of just covering this team. We'll discuss in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100 because you can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You could turn $10 into $1,000. With the finals over, the hoops action doesn't stop on PrizePicks. Women's basketball is still heating up with stars like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make names for themselves alongside greats like Breanna Stewart and Asia Wilson. You can win up to 100 times your cash watching them ball out. PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. You can always bet O'Neal Cruz over on home runs, Brian Reynolds over on hits, or Jared Jones tonight over on strikeouts. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Folks, welcome back to the final part of today's episode of Locked On Pirates here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every single day. And your host, Ethan Smith, is a little bit frustrated. Obviously, with the loss tonight, not a big Cardinals fan, obviously, or loss last night, not a big Cardinals fan. And I really hammered it home yesterday that this was a must-win series for this Pittsburgh Pirates team. Just was. And when you break it all down and you look at it and you say, okay, what are we doing? Truthfully, what are we doing? There's a lot to be frustrated about with this team. Truthfully, there just is. And I kind of wish I had somebody else to voice these frustrations too, because a lot of my frustrations are kind of just beating the same dead horse. This offense over the last 4 games, I believe, has not scored more than 4 runs. Yeah, definitely 4. Might be 5. No, it's 4. So the last 4 games, the Pirates have scored 4 runs or less. You're not going to win a lot doing that in this league. You're just not. And I'm also getting a little frustrated too with hearing it's going on around the league. Everybody's not hitting well. It's a thing that's going on everywhere. That doesn't give you the right to say that when your offense is ranking in bottom 5 in most top statistics. And really, you're not doing much to fix it. And I did have a discourse with somebody yesterday about why is Jack Sawinski still on this team and blah, blah, blah. And yes, I know he had a good game yesterday, but that defeats the point. They don't really have anything else. Yes, I understand the Matt Gorski discourse. Yes, I understand the Joshua Palacios thing. I get it. What does that fix? Truthfully, what does Joshua Palacios fix about this team? What does Matt Gorski fix about this team? Sorry. What does Braxton Ashcraft fix about what this Pirates team needs right now? The answer is not a damn thing. It really doesn't. Palacios can come up here and be his super clutch self and win the Pirates a couple of games with some walk-off homers. I love the guy. He's an awesome dude. He came on this show last year. He's even reached out to me every once in a while. He's an awesome guy. But at the end of the day, Joshua Palacios is not a needle mover. He knows that. And all of you know that. And I understand that watching a guy like Jack Sawinski daily just struggle mightily is frustrating. I understand that watching Yasmani Grandal try to play the catcher position and try to hit anything is frustrating. I get it. But take a step back and be frustrated about the things that actually matter. Yasmani Grandal does not factor into this team's success at all. He doesn't. Jack Sawinski does. The frustrations for Jack Sawinski's play are justified. The frustrations about why he's getting all of these at-bats are not. They don't have other options. They just don't. And they can go out and get other options, and I pray that they do, because I do think this team has the keys and has the tools to be a contending team. And when I say contending team, I'm not saying that they're going to make the wild card. I just want to watch meaningful baseball in September instead of already thinking about player reviews in the middle of the month. That's what I want. I just want to watch this team and have a little bit of a thought that they can make the postseason. That's all I want. And I think a lot of the frustration, especially with me and probably all of you, is that they just have so much young talent as far as pitching is concerned, and so much talent as far as pitching in general is concerned. They are one of the best teams in baseball when it comes to pitching, with Mitch Keller and Jared Jones and Paul Skeens. Even Bailey Falter has given you some very good outings this year. Martin Perez is eventually going to come back to his normal self. And then at some point, you're going to get Quinn Priester back. You're going to get Ryan Borucki back. You're going to get Marco Gonzalez back, hopefully. And then that's going to create an awesome dynamic that you have, because it's going to give you the opportunity to trade some expiring contracts and still be in the damn thing. But you have to at least show something. I think that's what the frustration really lies in, is the stagnation of it. And I know this goes a little bit off my point that they can't do anything right now. They really can't. They just don't know where they're going to be going into the All-Star break. They don't even know where they're going to be going into the trade deadline on July 31st. But internally, you can make decisions to change things if they can be changed. Yasmani Grandal doesn't need to be starting every day. He doesn't need to be the starting catcher. Jack Sawinski, although I know the other options aren't great, yes, you could at least try them, but they're not going to really change anything. And it's making me like lose my damn mind, because at the end of the day, the expectations that were placed on this team were by the front office, the general manager, and the team itself. They told you watching this show, that this is a team that can compete. That's what they're doing. They're 4 games under 500. That's what they're going to be around, I think, all season. They're going to be a 500 team, maybe a little bit better if they make the right moves. But it's okay to be frustrated, folks. It really is. But please just be frustrated about the things that make sense. Be frustrated about the things that are justified. And do your research before you're frustrated. Because there's a lot of things that people are calling for, and there's a lot of things that people think this team should do that just flat out don't make sense. But there are things they can do that would. And you hope that they do some of those things tonight against the St. Louis Cardinals to force a rubber match on Thursday. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team, your Pittsburgh Pirates, every day. Follow me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates for all of your news, analysis, opinions, and reactions to everything going on in the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates. You can find this show on YouTube and all of your audio platforms, because it is free and available to you every Monday through Friday. Tomorrow's show, me talking about this game tonight. It's either going to be a very positive show or a very negative show. So strap in, be ready. But until then, see you on the flip side.